Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessa and today's video is yet another Fairyloot unboxing and also a book haul for the month of June. I have just received my Fairyloot, so I'm very excited to open it. This is both the YA and adult books, so we're going to start off with that because I think it's the most interesting part. First one here is our YA book, and this one is the one that I think I'm actually more excited for because I have seen the design for this before and I think it's one of probably the best that they have done, so I have been really interested in this book as well. So to start off, here is the little art card that it comes with. And here is the back that tells you the book and also the artists who work on. And our book is Heir of Storms by Lauren Hamilton Murray. Just first off, this is so pretty. Like, it's so like whimsical and just, it reminds me a lot of like mermaids and like animated like fantasy films. So I'm very excited for this one. And we also have some beautiful interior art illustrations as well. This one is super pretty with like the ballroom scene. Oh, this is making me really excited to read this book because I really love like ballroom scenes and like anything that is sort of like whimsical and like princessy. The naked hardback is so pretty as well. This one reminds me a lot of the design that they did for the December Romantasy, which was Heavenly Bodies. See if that can show properly, but that's so pretty. I wonder if it's the same artist. It probably is. This is really stunning. It also has the author signature in there and then an author letter as well, which all Fairyloot editions come with. So very excited to get to this one. It also has an under the dust jacket art, which is the standard cover, I believe, with a redesigned color palette, and I believe this is the UK cover. It has a different cover for the US, though I do believe there is a special edition coming out for the US printing of it as well. So I'm going to read off the synopsis of this as well. When Blaze came into the world, she almost drowned it. Blaze, a rain singer, is born into one of the most powerful fire-wielding families in the Empire. Her birth summoned a devastating storm that has resulted in the deaths of thousands, and she has spent her life as an outsider, reviled and feared. When Blaze and her twin brother Flint are selected to compete in the Choosing Right, the trials which decide the future rulers of the Empire, she's suddenly thrust into the limelight and into battle. Threats abound at the Golden Palace, where intrigue and romance await, with not one but two handsome suitors, the enchanting Crown Prince and a dangerous, alluring newcomer at court. As her powers strengthen and her fellow competitors fall, the throne is suddenly within her grasp, but in order to take the crown, she'll have to leave behind the stories that others have told about her and find the courage to write her own. I think that seems really interesting. I like the idea of a main character trying to find her own place and also struggling against the ideas that other people have of her. I'm also intrigued by the premise of the love triangle in this. I'm not usually the biggest fan of love triangles, but I think sometimes they can be nice, especially in like YA fantasy, because I feel like it kind of brings me back to reading those, you know, YA fantasy romance books when I was younger. Hopefully this will have that kind of vibe to it as well, and this is just so stunning. Like, the edges are gorgeous, the cover is gorgeous, and I love the colors and the composition. And I'm interested to see how the magic system is going to work because it says that she's from a fire family, yet this book is very water themed, and she also, it's called Heir of Storms. And it says at the beginning that she, you know, almost drowned the world when she was born. So I think that dichotomy between her family's powers versus her powers is also going to be an interesting theme for this book to explore. Very excited to get to this one, and I, once again, love the design. Here's our adult book. This one I think a lot more people are excited about, and I'm like cautiously optimistic because I have read from this author before and liked her books, but I have read from this author before and disliked her books as well, so I'm intrigued to see where I'll land on this one, though there are aspects of the premise that are really intriguing to me. Here is the card. And then here is the back, which lists the artists who worked on this edition. And our book is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. So once again, V.E. Schwab is a very popular author with her Shades of Magic series, as well as The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is another really popular book written by her. I have read all 4 of those books, and I've also read another one of her books, which is called Gallant. I only really liked the first and the third one in the Darker Shade of Magic series. I wasn't a big fan of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is what makes me a bit hesitant about this book, because I feel like it's more in that vein, and I think as I explain the synopsis you might see why that is more so. But this is our cover. I think it's rather nice, and this is the sprayed edge as well, and then the back has a quote on it which I'm going to read. Bury my bones in the midnight soil, plant them shallow and water them deep, and in my place will grow a pharaoh rose, soft red petals hiding sharp white teeth. I think that seems really cool. The interior artwork is also really stunning, and I love the like foil accents on it. And there's also a quote on this that I'll read off. The quote is the same one that's on the back of the dust jacket. Yeah, I think this is really nice as well, and I like the cohesive color palette. Then the under the dust jacket art is once again just the standard one in a different colorway. The standard one is a like deep blue. This is a story about hunger. 1532 Santo Domingo de la Casa. A young girl grows up wild and wily, and Maria knows she can only ever be a pawn in men's games. So when an alluring stranger offers an alternative path, Maria makes a desperate choice. A story about love, 1827, London. A young woman lives a cloistered life on her family's estate until a moment of forbidden intimacy sees her shipped off to London. Once there, a beautiful widow offers Charlotte her freedom, but at what cost? A story about rage, 2019, Boston. College was supposed to be a fresh start. That's why Alice moved halfway across the world. Then an out-of-character one-night stand leaves her questioning everything. Alice throws herself into the hunt for answers and revenge. This is a story about life and how it ends and how it starts again. I think that seems really interesting. This is a book about vampires, specifically about sapphic vampires. So I'm really interested to see the way that V.E. Schwab plays with those themes, especially playing with the sort of standards that women have faced through different points in time in history, and sort of exploring how that affects them as these sort of new reborn identities, basically as the vampires. Because a lot of vampire media, especially the more classic stories in vampire media, have largely focused on male characters and male stories, even when they're traversing across time and history. So I'm interested in this, and also I think the element of having sapphic characters is also interesting as well. I believe V.E. Schwab also identifies as part of the LGBTQI+ community, so I'm interested to see how she weaves those narratives into this story. I do think these 2 editions are really, really stunning. I honestly think Heir of Storms is one of my favorite Fairyloot editions, just based on how it looks and the design choices, so I'm really interested to get to both of these ones. I also have some other recent release books as well that I want to share and show off. So the first one is The Robin and the Oak Throne by K.A. Linde. This is the sequel to the book The Wren and the Holly Library, which I read last year and really enjoyed. This is also an exclusive like publisher edition, and it has sprayed edges and also hardcover illustration as well. So this is really pretty and matches the first one, which also had both those features. There is also some end paper artworks as well. So this is the sequel that continues off of the events of that first book. So I'm not going to explain too much about what this one is about, because that would be a spoiler. But the first book follows a character who is basically recruited to sort of work this sort of mission by this guy who is some aspect of a monster, and it is set in a modern New York setting where there is monsters who exist and have made this sort of treaty with the humans to coexist peacefully, there's some aspect of that treaty being broken and our main character being sort of tied into it alongside this monster that she's forced to work with. So it's really interesting, and I'm excited to continue with the series. I honestly didn't expect to like the first book as much as I did, but I did really enjoy it. So there's also a prequel coming out later this year, so I'm excited for that one as well, and excited to see what the author does largely with the series. The next one was A Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. This is another publisher special edition. It's got gold sprayed edges that are gilded, and then some gold foiling on the hardcover as well, and I think a design on the naked print as well. This is set in her larger universe that I'm sort of blanking on what it's called, but these are inspired by Asian folktale and legends, and I've liked some of her books so far. I really liked the Six Crimson Cranes duology, but I wasn't a big fan of the Spin the Dawn duology, and I have yet to read her Radiant Curse, which is also set in that same world, so I'd like to get to that one before I read this one. But this one is really pretty, and I'm really excited because we're following a character who was introduced in the Six Crimson Cranes duology, so I would recommend, if you are looking to pick this one up, to read Six Crimson Cranes beforehand, because it does give backstory towards one of the main characters in this book. A bit of a different one, but this is a romance book and not a fantasy book, but is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. So this is her most recent release, which honestly, I cannot believe that she has released that many books this year, because she had Deep End come out this year. She has this one, and then she has the sequel to Bride, which is called Mate, coming out later in the year. Like, Ali Hazelwood is just like doing it all. She has 3 books coming out this year. All of them have been hyped releases. This one in particular, I believe, is a sequel to one of her books that came out last year, which is called Not in Love, and we're following, I believe, the main male character from that's younger sister and his best friend, potentially. So this one is following some sort of wedding where our main character is sort of forced to spend time with her brother's best friend, who is a bit older than her, but she's also very interested in him romantically. So there is some aspect of like a forbidden love aspect, as well as this destination wedding. So it's very summer coded in that sense. So I'm excited to get to this one, though I haven't yet read Not in Love, so I'd like to probably get to that one before picking up this one. And then the last one is The Nightblood Prince by Molly X Chang. So this is another Chinese inspired fantasy. I believe we're following a princess who has some sort of magic, and I think there's some issue going on politically where maybe she has to, it's like an arranged marriage or something. It's a really gorgeous cover. It's also another special edition. This one, for a bit of a spoiler, is also set to be the July YA pick for Fairyloot, so I'm not 100% sure if I'll end up keeping this edition, even though I do really like it, but I'm still excited to get to this one, though I'm a bit cautious because Molly X Chang was the author of To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods, which I think was quite problematic when it came out, but I don't want to judge the author because I have not read that book, largely because I wasn't that interested in the plot line, but this one is interesting, so I'd like to give it a shot before I cast any judgment. Thank you once again for joining me for this unboxing. I hope that you enjoyed it and possibly got some new books that you might want to pick up. Let me know if you have received any of these books or if you are planning to read them soon, and if you have read them, please let me know what your thoughts are, because I love to talk about books. Thank you once again, and goodbye.